lafaka tuba for in terms of the outcome.
Yeah, intersection sort of damn. One second. Let me go there quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so ni not the perception. So believe in currently stands the best chance. It's the same as the perception. So I'm looking at both on the same screen right now. Near Jube, the belief ko Barobe win in the August survey was 31%. Near Jube, this time the perception, even though notable distinction, Molnyataka Olonko, they are of different sample size. So we can only talk about the quality. The August survey was 1,550. So more Willie Killing Kemelulu, Talul New War, and Yindo is 1,245. Willie Killing Kemefula, Tanan and Lulu. So there are about 311 thereabouts difference, more kono. But in terms of representation, yes, ni ibe box tick in terms of representation. Yes, all these are enough samples. Ngamen fwenu. Ane atara mo keme fule wole survey. People should take it with all seriousness. Talk less of more than 1,000 people. But going back to that, Niajibe President Barola perception is still there. In fact, from 31% perception to 46%, that is still a perception like we spoke about, not necessarily votes. But Nina on the other sides, let's say for UDP, in a leader, Usenu Dabo, the perception was 12%, and now the perception is 20%. So it only increments totally. Nina in August 2025, Talib Bensouda was 18% of perception, but now UMC, we all believe he's the de facto or the default leader of UMC, even though I'm not sure if they are registered, but UMC are 2% sort of young, and Talib here, who we believe is the leader of UMC, is 18%. This might not be the case for formalities, but mol be kaji wol nyamako niko UMC mbe Talib lel. So Talib jang 18% August, jang 2% perception. Nidara Esam by fall, science are winning APPA so be 3% perception, Jang is 1%. This recent one is 1%. Nidara Mama Candela, GDC 1% perception for 2026. And then 2025, the perception was 3%. Nidara Elanyu order la wolbe siarine. Undecided is 29%. Wolebe Jeko, more be undecided will malon. Jang refuse, don't know is about 18% refuse. So the notable ones, Mole Menu Long, Barola perception is still high, Double perception Nata, Seleda, Talibla perception Jitale, Mama Candela perception Jitale, Isafala perception Jitale. So Abelard Wolanyama from August 2026.
Yeah.
August 2025 to January 2026.
Yeah, so yeah, it's important to comparative bit of comparative analysis from that. So to back nata akoro sinyaming. Gambia participates.
But before you come, Tuba, UMC can member for Wole Muko. At that time, it will make a party to follow. It can member for Wole Muko when this survey keta because Ngela released Wole Muko coming. It all they were just 2 months old. Do you think that changes anything?
I don't think so, because near Jube, at the end of the day, that would not count towards the survey, because at the time, let's say at the time Talib was within the UDP, and Talib Fanama resigned, if I resigned, UDP answer. But UMC is still UMC is still there. So Nico Otamo, as of now, when we follow the due process, I believe not Talib resigned Makalamuda. But if Talib is still part of the UDP, he is still part of the UDP, and he's the most associated person.
As a political leader.
Okay, as a political leader, yes. So as a political leader, man changes JJ. The question on Talib, be Nico mo UMC rek, mo buka for MC Cham, mo buka for Ibrahim Diba, mo buka for Kemo Boja, niamo UMC rek, more ka associate the Talib than any other person. So today, Nienjibe, aniko NPP, iba file jumal NPP, mbenga alon ko President Barole la kuntiotide, more ka student wol, Nico UDP B, because Kumam falim follow, bolka double for. So walat na jang, Usenu Dabo Yewole Safi Jang, and this other side is UDP. But we are still doing the comparison as UDP. So these two are interchangeable in terms of when people are voting and when people are making considerations and perceptions. But Abelar will man mira ku falinta wodo in that case.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, so I don't really see the difference. Or we just have to, like, remember, instead of Press releases are important, but acknowledge what came out. Tell people because you will learn from it. You will take your intelligence out of it to re-strategize, to kind of, put your things, your house in order, and then move from there. And personally, no political leader, I'm not going to say anything otherwise. If you are in the field of academics, you can scrutinize this through a different lens, look at certain things that you don't agree, and you can say your opinion. But for political gains, don't throw shades on this survey. Just take points, positive points out of it and go on.
Esa, probably the last question, or the, except ninga tara mon men benjibe ka warebe la mo ke nyin karo soto. Ngalon coalition diamo fana mbeke kanne. Bari opposition party membe Gambia e manyo moy damendo wole mu ibe sila jumale tala ka so nyokam. Dol ba fula winnable candidate, dol ba fula kon majority. Ndolel siata moko tagol binale kafu nyom kafu kang. So nyin so vela finto tumando bato ay opposition party lo nya ni sembo ay tan dile kol belari nyame gaminol be mireki la kol la nyame. Do you think this is going to be a formula? It will provide a formula abe silo wala na opposition le ka long silam nse sila jumale tano kaji ko ngaso nyoka.
Okay, Janimbodo Jabila, just to throw some light on 2x4, comparing the August survey by Gambia participants, even though Gambia participates okay, and Afanyam Fanang, there are sample size man killing, comparing it to now, me along CePRASS learning. So Ninara Jibe, perception to win, Gambia participates use the figures, the political figures themselves, personality, right? Mr. Barrow, 31% co he's likely to win. Mr. Dabo 12% and Talib 18%. Then GB SFL I think 3%, whatever, right? GDC Fanang Mama Kande the same. So but Nina Dola Iko I think CePRASS may use one in political party NPP Alliance 46%, UDP 20%, UMC 2% and the rest, 1%, whatever. So, okay, one could argue, because these are different. This one is personality and this one is party. But come to by Memphis, Gambia political parties revolves around individuals. That's a fact. They revolve around individuals. Be Nico NRP, Molka Hamad Balefo, Nico UDP, Dabolefo, Nico NPP is President Barrow. But because question for the sake of fairness, we wouldn't say, okay, for the sake of fairness, therefore, Kabiko UMC, Talib Lela. Because at least, for now, even though UDP will make clear double candidate, but then, UMC Mafo, and probably NPP too.
NPP, yeah, they did go, Barrow is the candidate, yes.
Okay. So
it was until they change, things can change. But yes, Barrow has been their confirmed candidate.
Exactly. Yes. But then, come member Jane, Ninarajibe personality level, they men crossing comparatively. Namina more rejection of sort of personality political figures than the parties themselves. In the case of Dabo and Mr. Barrow, Niajibe Barrow, 31% is saying Barrow is likely to win. But 46% is saying that NPP Alliance is likely to win. So probably, I'm just saying probably only 31% approve of Barrow. But the reason why it increased sort of to 46% is because, okay, maybe those people just believe NPP Alliance, but not necessarily Barrow. But it could also be, many answer 46% Menko is likely to win. The good number of them could be, they just believe in Barrow and Taliban as NPP candidate. Yes. But it could also be coming out for Model Beje Wolkabe win, but that doesn't mean that they will vote for him. Now, it was 12%. Mr. Dabo is likely to win. But Kabiya UDP in Karoke, this one you'll call UDP, I jumped up to 20%. I am thinking it could be people reject Mr. Dabo, but not necessarily UDP. As an individual, 12% is saying he's likely to win, but only up to 20% is saying UDP is likely to win. We are just talking about probabilities. Probably also, Molel Beje Merialonko Wol, Imala Mr. Dabola, Bari ilata UDP, and if UDP should bring a different candidate, maybe they believe that UDP is likely going to win. But also,
but
I
what
want
is
to say
also
at this
clear,
juncture,
right?
it is already confirmed. Dabo is the
Yes,
flag
he's going to
bearer,
be the flag bearer. That's
as
what I
opposed
wanted to
to
mention.
before.
now
Yes,
understand me. Dabo is confirmed as the flag bearer.
as it stands. Yeah.
Yalong being so the mole opinion polls, mole opinion odi. Ndolta fono la membe mol sondo mo kono.
Indeed.
Mbika fono. Ngafal dore nyine fo. But nda fono la ko. So nka memfo. Probability lem ko. Well, maybe model beji. Ilata usi UDP le bari man la Mr. Dabala. Even though Mr. Dabo is confirmed as the candidate of the party, it could be also that as a Kenolo Kotenkoko, maybe more trust in even Mr. Dabo and the UDP has increased, and that's why 20% is saying that UDP is likely to win. Malafok understand. Probability.
All these are likelihoods to happen.
Yes. Personality in political party in Fanan, no Fanan jibe kono. More intention of maintaining answer what they may and don't because so they become a Kenyan in Kawal Bela. At a specific question like that.
Specifics,
now,
indeed.
Talib La Carola, 18% believe he was likely to win in 2025 August. But now, 2% is saying UMC. Come here, for Fana, Nico UMC, come on for political party that revolve around individual. Molka Talib Lege. And as Ken of Fana, will Melbe Coxon answer can UMC 2% yang, maybe will Fana Hakilo Kono Talib Lebe. But as you know, Fana, maybe Dolbeje Hakilo Mandawakan. It's all possible.
Well, yeah.
UMC signed in another Fanan. That's one. But they are made a Fanan. That performance, if we are going to judge, let's say Mbafale Loko, UMC, well, 2% yang, well, it's reflective of Talib because Talib like UMC to obviously more catalog. Probably UDP effect Fanan contributed because the 18% was in August. I think the survey was held in June or July, whatever, and then August la revealed that Talib was still in the UDP at the time.
Indeed,
and 18% said he was likely to win. But now about a UDP, even though they argued that Ngela Moljeleko UMC signed Nanara, but another dorong at a UDP UMC only 2% from 18% to 2%. It all for no lako. Now if you say because I saw one of them ako UMC signed in at a model ma UMC fonglong, so 2% ye doi wal mel tarajang and other parties, you will defeat what is a good performance. But also, you should be fair enough to yourself and tell us that, look, Talib was in UDP, Kabirako 18% sort of.
Yeah. Yep.
And now 2%. Maybe the good percentage, a good number, million ko 18% koneko, Talib was likely to win UDP in Kolemuti. You understand? But the same about the UDP, and a performance is at 2%. So, membeje molka defensive about this issue simply because I'm a favor. Then I move to the question. What's it again? You're talking
coalition.
About coalition possibility. So for some controversy they create. I remember when I went to Gambia in December, no program I think 2 of them. So I was like, you see, there is no hard and fast rule. There is no one universally approved formula for opposition coalition and people must be honest to themselves. Okay, yes. In most cases, bigger party, smaller party, bigger party. It's not like you come and join them. Coalition of Mankeko Mobina like join kan. We have conversations, we have discussions, the opposition coalition sort of nyame. But don't be careful. Well, this party is the bigger party, the rest will come and join. You don't do that. There must be conversations, there must be discussions. Formula put in place, agreement only. Gambia 2016 coalition was also, people should not forget, that was also a learning point for a lot of these opposition parties. Because coalition oketa nyaming agreement on mel sotota anana tala ba nyaming ngamiro fanang be mo jamale silendila going into a coalition, especially, and remember 2016 was in a convention-led coalition led. Now, how about Nina Tasayako party-led coalition? Anyanda kila world. Yamira modol be hani bala le bang based on the experience of 2016. Askeno dolte hanyina. So what I think hakil to wasila. So for there is no hard and fast rule ko. Agenda kila there is no universally approved formula ko. Opposition party ba demanding will be nyanta join nolaka. But there is no universally approved formula also. Kanfoko no nyanta tala conventional la nimme winter way win. In most cases, yes, and smaller parties will try to see in opposition banning and then opposition, the bigger party having their candidate leading. But also, it's possible based on our experience. Angata convention led, the opposition party angata convention led. Na certain agreement sort of melialonko aben fengala. But silent situation obenyam falli. I think, to be honest, abe kolea balale. I'm just speaking my mind. Abe kolea balale because the fact is, for example, you look at the UDP. Menka fo mko. Ntolu nimme manka fu mante kafulema. And then you have other opposition parties. Mele fananka foko. Ndolta kafunola UDP sakoy kany argument men samana winnable candidate mala winnable candidate yo bonde minton okay Mr. Dabo te winola mo karle be winola Mr. Dabo, it has been proven in the past ko aka UDP lead like a lose, but it has not been proven before ko a single opposition coalition lead la lose yalo man proof follow you understand me? Gambia opposition fragmentation and the ball of 4C in the 2026 election. I might be wrong. I'm not speaking with certainty. But mbemem 4C wolem fragmented opposition alliances lebe sotola. Now, and this has been the case. 2006, if you look at 2006, we had UDP, NRP, GPDP. NAT was PDIs, I think PPP, right? Something like that. Okay. Nina 2011 UDP, GMC, Malan and Jumale were left on 35. Then you and PDOIS ni NRP 35 koteng. Well, a united front in 2011. 2016, we had 6 or 7 political parties and an independent candidate. Melnada. But GDC was not also part of the coalition. Remember, as an opposition party, which played a part significantly in Jammeh's defeat.
Okay. But Esa, sa lafe nyini kala mena. Based on nga main long nyin survey me idandi. What is the best way to form a coalition? If you had to advise, for example.
Okay, so I think advice be kela menti. I don't know whether I should even call this advice or not.
But ila miro dro.
Na miro. I think it is going to be
because
hard.
UDP would also tell you we are in our right to say ninga atara mbesola nyokang. It only makes sense purumo kotengol yeso nyintolukang because sembo bendole lakara 20% as compared to the next closest is what? Is it 8% or what?
4%, not to alliance.
4%.
Yeah.
4%. So it only makes sense, I don't know, from a UDP perspective or a UDP militants perspective, by far.
Just to give a little bit of a context. Elections held in Gambia since UDP started participating. I'm just saying this because these are the records, right? Kabon 1996, UDP never failed to hit 100,000 votes. They never fail to hit that. They always go 100,000 plus. Nina Rafan, the latest election results in 2021, UDP is bigger than the rest of the oppositions combined. They have 238,000 plus. The opposition, Mama Kande is third, 105,000 plus. So the Isafal is like 17,000, Doi is 32,000, the late Abdullah Jamenyo Lafengo. Nia Beka Funyoma, a man for the UDP. I think these are all bases, Munana UDP Kavago, Ntolbe Siari Nyame, Niatol Kafunyoma, Manfut and Tolma, but Allah Tapuru Aliatambi. So all these things come into conversation. But Esa, you can go.
Yeah, no, so come memfo. Come Nyame, there's no universally approved formula, right? Ngam to Kachale Bulu. Ngam for mostly Nidiam the UDP militant dole. Dole Kafu Nyame Akasone Abakele, Alnalia Kafuma. It doesn't work like that. But Fanang, UDP consistently has proven to be the biggest opposition party in the Gambia, hands down. Kabir in 1996 and in BTM. It can mention of cartel. In fact, even during Jawara's time, oppositional Niajibe killing, opposition killing, because UDP in 1996 they were able to, obtain 35% of the votes compared to Yamis 55% of the votes. Jumala ko soto no time wala. Mostly NCP comments right 27% so pro opposition of 35% pool against an incumbent. I'm not sure whether the records will prove me wrong, but if I got it right, so UDP consistently has proven to be the biggest opposition party in the Gambia. And fair enough, if the UDP believes Tamila in a coalition, other parties should come, we make an arrangement me along on candidate betamina. It should be. But ngamira benyanda soto la kachala kono. And the more fanan kanaje ko, ndela point me mendi kanaje ko, wole nyanta kela as if
exactly, it's a
universally approved formula. But in a kudo fana nyemfale, which is a fact, and we must talk about. I think this, I mean, anti-UDP sentiments may alonko, a Seattle opposition come from Konekata opposition or Kono, Meli alonko, walla hajo buka 24 UDP attack doro. UDP cannot do this, UDP cannot do this, UDP cannot do this. And dolbeje la problemo, they, I don't know for whatever reason, Malam Mr. Dabo muneke dola, but ngamina dolbeje dorong, imalla falal dorong for whatever reason that they have. And you go samala mokam, ngamol jele Meli alonko, ining UDP ko model be dokola. I don't want to mention names, but UDP, you know, maybe whatever local government area be dokola walto model be jemian ko ni wol be dokola. You know, still they're saying that ko. For example, let's be specific in Talib's case. You talk to a lot of people, they'll tell you Talib is good, but not UDP. Okay, to be fair to the party as well. B, that motor bola korda ko ete intake mo kendoti. But imbora korda min ko imbora mo mel bala. Ekol manke mo kendolti. Will contribute to the political ndeke mo kendoti. So if you believe that Talib is good, he's a good leader, a political figure and all that, give credit to UDP as well. But Niko be UDP mutaleba put in the bad light ko manke patini mambete mamfinkere and then you single out Talib kafoko a better than all that. Sometimes we fananga like a contribute le UDP ka wole fananje ko anti-UDP sentiments ya battle to the extent that it just sonna and funny also another point which is also true, which is a fact. A coalition without UDP, mafoko, a third force without UDP cannot win election because simple majority lem. But abe kole balale, it will open the race. Abe kole and balaba tighten the lale because UDP has the numbers. Remember, 35% is saying in this survey ko mbe karjo dila UDP lale 35% out of the 100% among all those opposition parties. So ngamra way mate and the wolem ko in terms of coalition building, I will not tell them ko albe nyinekela exactly, right? But in terms of coalition building, I think they should be able to be compromised among the opposition parties to also look at party me along kotonya number samano from their side compared to the smaller parties mele along kotol financial number add no nyinkane so that they're able to defeat the incumbent or upset the incumbent. But again, also the candidate also matters. One should be very careful. I'm not using the term winnable candidate. I'm not using that. I'm not going to use that. But at least candidate, the choice of candidate, because coming a member, 49% saying another candidate. Yala man clear jumaling that another candidate. So if there is going to be a coalition talk, I think there should be that room purukajeko na flexible demanding in terms of the jumale samalanang as a candidate. Me alonko at least will be able to get votes from both his or her party or their party and also outside the party so that they can upset the incumbent. But at some point, nyimbe kole ya balale because UDP kamenye wala kontrolle be lead la and dolbeje opposition dolbeje. I can tell you one thing for free. Hanata nonko you have 5 opposition parties or 4 opposition parties coming together with the UDP, led by, for example, Mr. Dabo. Modolbeje will just not join waka. I can tell you that for free because of their personality issue, whatever with Dabo or their anti-UDP sentiments, they will not even want to be part of. So dolbeje abejarle nebe loose ebe fo, but the UDP kana tambe, which is very unfortunate, and the coalition building efforts a compromise about affect balance towards 2026.